I just took our Bahamas courtesy flag down and it's looking pretty shredded, right? Evidence of many months spent in the Bahamas and many very windy days. Maybe I should save it as a souvenir. I took the flag down because we actually just left the Bahamas and we're heading onwards. Angelo's driving right now on what has become sort of a pretty choppy morning, and we're headed almost exactly due west. That's not the direction we planned on heading. We had planned on continuing south, but unfortunately we're headed back to the United States for some, major boat work. If you watched my power and water video a couple of months back, I mentioned that we're running the generator something like 10 hours a day. And since then I've talked to other owners of similar boats, and it turns out we're running our generator a lot more than other people are. And it's gotten worse. We're to the point now of almost running the generator 12 hours a day. Our house batteries are taking longer to charge and discharging more quickly, so they're in a state of rapidly declining health, basically. Put a pin in that and we'll come back to it. Also, on the same power and water video that I did, I mentioned that I'm a little bit frustrated with our water maker. It's rated at 25 gallons an hour, and before we left Florida, we were getting 25 gallons an hour. But as soon as we got to the Bahamas, it was down to about 18 gallons an hour, and it's progressively declined since then. I think we're down to 15 or 16 gallons per hour now. So that's not good, and we'll talk about that more in a minute too. We had gradually made our way south in the Bahamas towards some of the more remote islands. We had a meandering course and a very loose itinerary, but we knew that we wanted to keep making our way south and eventually end up in the Caribbean for the summer months of 2026. We made it as far south as Crooked Island in the Bahamas, which I've got to say are the most gracious people ever. We could not even walk down the street without somebody stopping us and just wanting to talk. Wonderful. I would like to go back to Crooked Island. Very little there. They don't get a lot of visitors, I don't think, but the ones that come, they're very appreciative for. Anyway, we were at Crooked Island, and our next stop within a matter of days was planned to be Turks and Caicos, the next Caribbean nation just south of Crooked Island. We've loved the Bahamas, but we were ready to move on and see some new culture. But in the back of my mind, I knew that our house batteries were bad and getting worse, and also that water maker was constantly nagging me too as a potential weak spot in our cruising plans. When we bought the boat, we knew that the house batteries had some age on them, but we didn't know exactly how old they were. I recently found date codes on them, and now I know that they're coming on 5 years old. So, depending on how they were treated by prior owners, we're coming up on the time that they really are due for a replacement. You can get longer out of them if they're treated really well, but 5 years with a little abuse is, to be expected. I was hoping that the batteries would last us until 2027. I had planned on possibly doing a lithium battery upgrade in 2027. I know now that they're not going to last that long. Like I said, we're having to run the generator more and more, almost at the point of just running it full time like the bigger boats do, right? Which would work, but that's not a sustainable solution for us. Now, as for the water maker, I've always been uncomfortable having only one water maker on this boat. If it quits, that's a trip ender for us. We have to have fresh water, so we have to make the fresh water that we use. Add to that the declining output, and it really was making us uncomfortable. If we're able to run the water maker every day for several hours a day, it does fine keeping up. But if for whatever reason we can't make water, then we really, start running low in the tank. For example, we were at one stop on Long Island. We really liked the stop, so we stayed there for several days, almost a week, I think. But the water was so silty that we couldn't make water. It just kept clogging up pre-filters. So there was almost a week where we couldn't make water, so the tank got pretty low at that point, and it took us a long time to catch up. In another instance, we were sitting someplace waiting out a cold front to pass. It was so windy, the boat was jumping around at anchor, and we couldn't even run the water maker then because, like I said, the boat was jumping around, and the through hole kept coming out of the water, the pump sucked up air, the water maker would quit, and so on. So anyway, we suffered through that for several days, couldn't make water for that period of time, and the tank got low then as well. So every time something like that happens, we're sort of playing catch-up mode, trying to refill the tank, and that just means running the water maker for 12 hours a day or even more every day to get caught up. Another frustration with our current unit is we can't run it while we're underway. Same reason, the pump just sucks air and it shuts down. So those are all frustrations with the water maker. Anyhow, so we were at Crooked Island when we made the decision that we really needed to turn around, head north back to the United States and get these things addressed. So the last couple of weeks we've been heading north as I arranged for all this work to be done on the boat. We just left the Bahamas and we plan to spend 4-6 weeks in the United States. You as viewers have made it really clear that you want me to start talking about costs involved in running and maintaining this boat. So I'm going to do that. Now, money is really uncomfortable for me to talk about. I don't talk about money. In most instances, I just find it unnecessary and repulsive. But I know that's what you want to hear about. And what I really want to do is help prospective owners know what they're getting into before buying one of these boats, right? I know there are a lot of people out there, prospective owners watching this, that are thinking about buying a boat. And I want you to know what it costs to maintain these boats and keep them running well and properly maintained, before you take that plunge. These things take a lot of money to keep running in good condition, and I want you to know about that before you make the jump. Go into this eyes wide open, if you will, right? So before we even get to hard boat costs, we're heading back to Florida in prime time in southern Florida. It was hard even to find a slip. We were lucky to find a slip, and that's costing us $4,000 for a month. Okay. Add to that $3,500 for a condo for a month because we can't stay on the boat while this work is going to be done, and another $1,500 for a rental car. So we're $9,000 for the month before any work is even done on the boat. And now, as for actual boat work, first on the project list is the big one, the lithium battery upgrade. This has always been in the back of my mind for a potential upgrade in 2027, but like I said, the existing batteries just are not going to last that long, so we had to bite the bullet and do it now. I have no experience using lithium batteries, but people that I know that have them love them. I've talked to other boat owners that have done the installation. They love them. So we decided it was worth the added expense to do a lithium upgrade. They charge faster, they hold a charge better, and they withstand abuse better as well. But they're expensive. And more than that, we're not just talking about buying new batteries. We're buying new batteries, we're buying new inverters, new chargers, and we're replacing a lot of the wiring to handle all those higher currents. Now, I'm glossing over a lot here. Some of you know what we're talking about, some of you don't, but there's a lot of other little bits and pieces that go into this as well. It's a huge project. We've designed that whole system using Victron brand parts, and that's quoted as $72,000. Now, for that $72,000, we're not even getting a lot of what we wanted in the upgrade. I would love to have put in solar or a wind generator even. We're not doing that just because of the added expense for the wiring and the bits and stuff. We're skipping that for now. Another part that we're skipping is the ability to run 240 volt appliances off the inverters. The new inverters have the capacity to do it. However, that would involve a lot more rewiring of the whole boat. So we've decided to skip that now as well. We can come back as a phase 2 in the future if we want to and add that functionality in. But for now, we'll just continue to run the generator for 240 volts, just like we're doing now. Fine. I'm not one to try to save money at every turn. I like to design the best system, using the best products, and hire the professionals to do it right. That usually ends up being more expensive, right? But that just is how I view things. The next big item I talked about is the water maker. We decided to install a second water maker, and as long as we're doing it, we decided to install the biggest water maker that we could physically fit in the space that we have. That new unit is 75 gallons per hour, so that's a huge jump from what we have now, and it should alleviate a lot of our concerns. Plus, after the lithium battery upgrade, we won't be running the generator nearly as much. It'll be nice to be able to make as much water as we need in only a couple of hours instead of 4 or 6 hours. But units like this are not cheap. That's quoted as $35,000. Now, interestingly, the only reason we have room for this larger water maker is because of the lithium battery upgrade that we're doing. I've spent a lot of time in the lazarette over the last month measuring things, making diagrams, having video calls, and so on with the installers. By taking down a non-structural bulkhead that our existing inverters are mounted on, we're going to take out the existing inverters and that non-structural bulkhead. Anyway, by taking that out, we open up a lot of free space, and we can fit now 4 24-volt lithium batteries, whereas before, scattered around the lazarette, we have 8 12-volt AGM batteries. So we're sort of condensing things in one space, opens up a whole platform in a corner of the lazarette where the new water maker is going to go. That's great. That's new space that we didn't have before. Now the challenge with that is it is a back corner of the lazarette, a little harder to get to, so that means we're installing a fully automatic water maker with a remote panel that'll be near the main electrical panel. So that added to the cost considerably. But being where the installation is going to be, it would just be impractical to crawl back there every time we wanted to start it. All right, so those are the two big things that we're returning to Florida to have done. However, wouldn't you know it, the list just keeps building. Just in the last couple of days, we've had an issue come up with our stabilizers. They're leaking oil like crazy. Some seal blew out on one of them. So Yacht Tech, as we speak, is sourcing the parts to do the fix on the stabilizers. And as long as they're in there, they're going to replace the main bearings in the stabilizers. They may be due even for seals. We're still trying to research that. Not free. I don't have a quote for that work yet, but I'm going to estimate 10 grand on that right now. It might end up being a little bit low. We have a minor list of work to be done on both generators. Little things that I haven't been able to figure out. So I've got the mechanic scheduled to come in, do that work on the generators. Hopefully it's minor stuff that he can figure out quickly. I just haven't been able to, hopefully. I've got $2,000 penciled in for that. We also decided that a haul out and bottom paint just can't be delayed any longer. You've heard me mention this before if you've watched our bottom cleaning videos. It's due. So we're gonna do a haul out and bottom paint. So we have a haul out and bottom paint scheduled. I don't have a quote for that yet, but I'm estimating $15,000 for that. Oh, and as long as we're out, we're going to cut a new through hole in for that new water maker. Okay, next, we've decided to have some work done on our dinghy as well. It's in good condition, but it's looking a little tired. It's got black streaks all over the inflatable tubes and so on. I found a guy in the Palm Beach area that does dinghy restoration, and he says he can make this thing look like new. So I hope so. We're going to deliver the dinghy to him. He's gonna basically restore it and then also do some engine work. He works with an upholstery shop. We're gonna have a new cover made for it. I think that'll be about $5,000. Okay, next up, we're gonna have a new weather station installed that integrates better with all of our electronics. This is something I wanted to have done in Florida before we left last year, but for whatever reason, it just fell off the list. I've been wanting to have it done since. We're gonna do that. That's $3,000. I've also amassed quite the list of spare parts that I need to order. Some big, some small. This stuff adds up though. Even those hose clamps that I was replacing the other day, if you watched it was the oil change video. Hose clamps are only a couple bucks a piece, right? Maybe 5. But if you buy 100 of them at a time, like I did, little things add up. So I've got some little things, some big things on my spare parts list. For example, I want to have on board new starters for all 4 units. That's something that we should have. I don't have new replacement starters. So anyway, stuff like that. I'll bet we're $5,000 into miscellaneous spare parts that we need to order. Okay, lastly, we'll buy fuel as long as we're in. We're about 1,500 gallons down, so we'll take 1,500 gallons. Let's just pencil in $6,000 for that. So there you have it. We have $162,000 worth of work and expenses planned for March. We also have a long list of provisioning and personal items that we need to buy. Those are personal, so I'm not going to put them on the list of expenses here. Also, Angela's going to fly home and visit some family, another personal expense, but you need to build all that stuff in, if you're thinking about overall budgeting, right? So that sucking sound you can hear is $1,000 bills just being ripped out of our account. On a boat this size, we almost need to change denominations to $10,000 bills, right? Now, you could argue that the lithium battery upgrade and the water maker are optional expenses. And I would agree with you. You could put AGM batteries back in this boat, just like what's existing here now, and that would probably be $15,000 installed and would work just fine. You could elect not to do the water maker. The one that we have is working, it's fine, but it just makes us uncomfortable, and if that one packs up, that's a trip ender. So yeah, an optional expense, but a little bit of insurance for us. So like I said before, I think it was in the stuffing box video, I'm not proud, I'm not trying to be an asshole about all this. I just want other prospective owners to know what you're getting into before you buy one of these boats, because they're expensive and not all this stuff happens on a schedule, right? I had planned to put all these things off until 2027, but you can't always be on a schedule, right? So here we are having to do all of that this month. I've seen people on the Nordhavn Dreamers website get absolutely hysterical about budgeting, down to the matter of a few $1,000s. And if you're trying to budget expenses on a boat like this down to a few $1,000s, you can't afford it. Again, I'm not trying to be an asshole about this, but you just cannot budget these things that tight. It just will not be a pleasant ownership experience for you if you're budgeting that tight, because these expenses come up and you have to be able to cover them. Also, I know a lot of people that would hack together a lithium battery installation and it would work, but that's not the right thing to do on a boat like this. It has to be installed professionally to ABYC standards, always having the mind that at some point we're going to sell this boat, so we have to maintain, the standards that this boat are built to anytime we do anything to it, or else, we're going to affect the resale value of the boat. Who's going to buy this boat if it has a hacked together lithium battery system, right? Nobody. So our other big unknown right now is summer cruising plans. We had planned to be down towards the Caribbean, but now I don't know. It's going to depend on when we leave Florida and what our insurance company has to say about it. Hopefully we can get back down south. But anyway, that's a big unknown right now. We do not know where we're going in April or May. I don't know what the video release schedule is going to look like for the next 4 to 6 weeks as we work through these projects. There may not be long form videos. Maybe I'll just do short updates on the projects, daily updates or something like that. I do have some Bahamas Island stuff that's been filmed but not edited. Maybe I'll do a video on that. I know I've got a bunch of stuff from the Exumas that needs to be put together. I've got a bunch of stuff from Eleuthera that needs to be put together that I haven't done yet. A lot of you have commented that you want to see more off the boat videos, so maybe I should do that. Also, there are some projects that I personally need to get done while we're in Florida, like redoing that stuffing box, for example. I'll do that. There's a couple others that I know you guys want to see, so that might be in the schedule. And as far as the upcoming major boat work, the battery upgrade, water maker, haul out, stabilizers, etc., everything I talked about, let me know in the comments how much of that you want to see updates wise, whether it's shorts, whether it's some long in-depth video, whatever it is. Let me know in the comments what you want to see and I'll try to work it in. Anyway, we're about 4 hours out of Florida now. After being away for several months, we're bracing ourselves for some culture shock. And we'll see you on the next one.